Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Saturday, January 5th, 2019, 4:06 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. And so I'm going to give you a little slideshow again right at the beginning of pictures I've taken, and then we're going to cover a couple of things and get right into the earthquake report because things are hopping. So I hope everyone is having a nice weekend. And this is a view of Lake Tahoe from the Mount Rose Trail going up to Mount Rose. And it's I took this, I'm not sure when I took this, I think 2014. So you can see the meadows. These are called the meadows down here, and then there's forest and mountains up here, and then this is the lake, and then it's surrounded by mountains all the way around. And so this was I would usually take this hike in late summer, like in the end of August or towards the mid or end of August every year. And so even at the end of summer you can see that the mountains still had snow, and here's some snow up here. So that's Lake Tahoe, in case people have never seen that. I have some more pictures of it where it's more close up, but I thought I'd just share some of these pictures that I took from hiking up to Mount Rose. And this picture, I love this tree. I remember going by this big rock when this tree was just a baby, and it's growing right out of the rock, and the rock is cracking as a result of the roots coming down into it. And it's amazing to me. And that's on the trail going up to Mount Rose. This is Mount Rose. This was taken August 31st, 2014, as you can see from the timestamp. And this was taken from a special place that I used to go to every year just as a pilgrimage, and I would get special messages while I was there, and would say a lot of prayers and things like that. So I don't make that trip anymore. My health is not good enough to do that, but I think that was the last year I went to that certain spot. So there's that. And here's me, same day, in front of Mount Rose. And so that's me at 88 pounds. I now weigh about 118, but that was the year that I nearly died. I got down to 77 pounds, and I had intestinal worms. I had ropeworms that nearly killed me. It took me 2 years to get rid of them. And if people want to know my story about how I met Jesus, it was during that battle. And without his help, I would not be here today. So I did a video on that, and you can do a search on my YouTube channel for How I Met Jesus, Margo's story, and you'll hear all about it. So here I am at 88 pounds coming back, and I still was battling the worms, but they were well on their way out. So there I am, victorious, feeling pretty victorious on that trip to have made it that far. And so I'll just go back to that picture of Lake Tahoe. So I'm glad you're enjoying these pictures. I'm getting some nice comments. And now I'm going to show you some interesting things. First of all, here's a NASA world view from today. Now, what's wrong with this picture? Can anyone tell me? Well, it looks to me like this is the easiest way for them to block out data, and this is crazy. What is this big rectangular blacked out area right in the middle of of the water there, and it's covering part of Australia, and it's to the south of these Indonesian islands here. Now this is Java. This is Sumatra up here. Krakatoa is down here, and I know that they've had a bunch of earthquakes down here. So what they're not wanting people to see is beyond me. So I just thought I would share that with you to begin with. That looks pretty bright down there. I don't know what that is. Anyway, I don't want to get caught up on getting distracted here. Anyway, I thought everybody would get a kick out of that. That's NASA's latest way to not show data. The next thing I want to share is that today is a partial solar eclipse starting at 5:28 p.m. Pacific time. So in just a little over an hour there's going to be a partial solar eclipse, and I'll leave the link below so that people can look and see. And this is 2019's first new moon, and it falls on January 6th at 1:28 UTC, which is 5:28 Pacific time. The new moon will pass between the Earth and Sun to stage a partial eclipse of the Sun. It happens on the night of January 5th for time zones in the Americas, and thus we won't see it except for a tiny section of Alaska shortly before sunset January 5th. But if you do reside at the right spot on the globe, you can see the moon taking a bite out of the solar disk. Just be sure to use proper eye protection when watching this or any eclipse. And so this guy has the calendar, the moon calendar for this year. The eclipse will be visible from Asia, China, Korea, Japan, Russia, North Pacific Ocean, and Alaska's Aleutian Islands. Depending on where you live within the eclipse viewing area, this eclipse will happen during the daylight hours on January 5th or 6th. We refer you to the eclipse animation and map below. So it's going to be in the upper northern hemisphere. As you can see, it's not going to be visible from a lot of the world. So where that shadow is, that's who's going to be able to see it. And here's another map of it. It starts at sunrise in Asia, then travels rapidly eastward for roughly 4.5 hours, finally ending at sunset in the Aleutian Islands extending from Alaska. The animation above shows the eclipse viewing area as a shaded and somewhat misshapen circle moving across Earth's daytime side. Anyone within the moon's penumbral shadow will see varying degrees of a partial eclipse. If you live within the eclipse viewing area, click here for eclipse times via EclipseWise, or this interactive map via time.unitarium.com. And then here are the eclipse times starting in Unalaska, Alaska. Partial eclipse starts at 4:16 p.m. The greatest eclipse is at 5:33 p.m. and then sunset at 6 p.m. and then the partial eclipse ends at 6:43. So it's about a two and a half hour period, it looks like. Beijing, China, their partial eclipse starts at 7:34 a.m. for their time, which is 2 minutes before sunrise. The greatest eclipse is at 8:34 a.m. and it ends at 9:41 a.m. For Tokyo, Japan, on January 6th, it starts at 8:43 a.m. Greatest eclipse is at 10:05 a.m. and it ends at 11:36 a.m. And then it says that these eclipses always come in pairs, and in 2 weeks there will be a lunar eclipse, and so later on this month, on the night of January 20th to 21st, there will be a total eclipse of the moon visible in the Americas, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, and this is going to be a blood moon. And a lot of people have been talking about it, so this gives you a lot more information about it too. So I will leave the link below so people can check that out. But with any kind of eclipse or, you know, full moon activity, new moon activity, it affects the earthquakes, and so you're going to see an uptick in earthquakes whenever any of this stuff happens. And this is what a partial eclipse looks like. You'll see the sun and a little bite taken out of it where the moon is moving in front of it. And so now let's go to the comments that we've gotten under the video from yesterday. The first comment that came in was Jay Bird. He says, "Thanks for sharing your special mystical places." You're welcome, Jay Bird. It's my pleasure. I I feel like I'm sharing a part of me when I'm doing this. And I appreciate people who do appreciate that. And then Troy Turton leaves a couple of comments. He says, yes, the climatologist Paul Beckwith I recommended said in a couple of years Greenland will actually be mostly, if not all, green, as in ice-free, his latest video on the subject, and he leaves a link. And yeah, that's in reference to the article I presented yesterday about Greenland's ice sheets releasing methane as they're melting. So if anyone wants to watch that Paul Beckwith video, they can just click on that link. And then Troy leaves another message. He says, by the way, like your other follower below said, thanks for sharing your pics and little stories to go along with them. I was taking all kinds of weather pics and videos since Superstorm Sandy hit us here, but the winter of 2013 and 14 killed my digital camera on me. Slowly but surely the autofocus went from getting so damp and all the snowstorms, we usually don't get many up here in New Jersey. We got 58 inches that winter, and snow was on the ground almost the entire winter. For 2018, we got over 58 inches of rain in my area. Crazy, as I always say, there's still some water in our sump pump hole in the basement floor. Well, thanks for sharing that, Troy. Yeah, as we know, the weather is getting crazy and unpredictable, and we just don't know. We're in no man's land with any of this. So we can just observe and report what's going on. And then Patricia Powell says, thanks again, Margo. You're so detailed and thorough in your reports. Very hard work for you, and we all appreciate it so very much. Peace, love, and joy to you in this new year, Pat. You're welcome, Patricia. Pat, thank you for your comment, and thank you for being here. I appreciate you very much, and I wish you much peace, love, and joy as well. And then this comment just came in from Diadem Glow. Thank you, Margo. Lovely memories and photos. You're welcome, Diadem Glow. Thank you for being here and commenting as well. So now, this is the last thing I'm going to show you before we get into the earthquake report. This is sulfur dioxide, and this is the global view and for today, and I have it on the PDF file. This is from today, Saturday, January 5th, and this is total column. And I would just like to point out this release right down here in Krakatoa. And so even though NASA Worldview has blacked out that area, we can see that Krakatoa is still releasing large amounts of sulfur dioxide from that area. So I just wanted to share that. And so now we'll get right into our earthquake report. And it's been very active. Hang on, I'm going to turn on my heater. Okay, I'm back. So what we're looking at is USGS, the last 24 hours, all magnitudes, and it's showing 241 earthquakes worldwide. And we've had some huge ones. And then when we go to this view, it's last 24 hours, 2.5 magnitude and higher, and it's showing 39 earthquakes worldwide. And I've also pulled up another earthquake reporting site. I wasn't going to do this, but I had to, since USGS is not reporting on some real important earthquakes, specifically one that we had in Yellowstone, the Yellowstone area today. And this is another earthquake reporting site. It's EMSC, and it's from Europe. And they have, I have chosen this tab up here. This isn't just an easy view tab. Worldwide earthquakes, 4 magnitude and higher, and I have chosen the last 24 hours, and you can choose last 48 hours, last week, and last 2 weeks, and also last hour. And also you can, when you click on Euromed earthquakes, they report they report on smaller earthquakes in these areas that USGS only reports on smaller earthquakes in their territory, not for the rest of the world. And so we've been seeing a lot of activity in the Mediterranean, and we can see why. That not only have we had those few that were reported by USGS at Sicily and Greece for like four and above, but see there. Let's see if we can zoom in. Hang on. I'm going to have to experiment with this site before I start zooming in and stuff, because you can't just move the map around like you can with USGS. But we can see that they've had quite a few smaller earthquakes that are coming along that the area through the Mediterranean and down through Iran and these areas. So they also have a list. Let me go back to this view, and you can check them. You can check them back and forth with USGS as well, and they're showing 33 earthquakes. Of course, this is 4 magnitude and higher, and then they have a list down here, the earthquakes, and you can choose like whether you want the full list or magnitude greater than 4 or 5 and greater, or whether you want Euromed and so forth. And so it defaults to latest earthquakes magnitude 3 and higher. And so what I wanted to show you is this one in Yellowstone. I saw this when it popped up this morning on USGS, and it was there and then it was gone. But it did register, and it was a 3.1, and it was 22 kilometers deep, and it happened this morning at 11:35 a.m. my time, Pacific time. So here are the details. I actually saw it come up as a 3.2, but it probably got downgraded or something. And here are the details of it, and here's the star showing where it was. So Yellowstone did get a 3.1 earthquake, and then there was one in Washington State that I saw on the map, and Agenda Free TV, the gentleman who runs that YouTube channel, he was reporting on these and saying, I just saw that, and I saw it too. But there was one in Washington State that was like a 3.2 or something, and then that went away, and it went away from this map, and it went away from USGS as well. So I'll leave this tab open in case we want to come over here for any reason. So let's get right into this. I want to start with, well, first of all, we've had some huge activity, in case people have not been following, and it's just ringing around the world now. And let's go down here. I'll start with the older ones before they start falling off the map. This 5.0 in the Philippines, Sarangani, Philippines, happened yesterday at 5:04 p.m. So this was, I don't know if I reported on that yesterday or if that was right after I finished my report and was uploading it. And that was 122 kilometers deep. Then we had a 5.1 in Indonesia that was 10 kilometers deep. Let's just go on down here to this area, and what I'm going to show you is interesting. I'll hit these over at Tonga in a second here. You see two earthquakes, right? But there are actually 4 earthquakes listed because 3 of them were in the same place. Okay, we saw the one at the Philippines that happened at 5:04 p.m. yesterday. And then there was a 5.1 that showed up right here at Indonesia, 10 kilometers deep, and that was at 5:55 yesterday p.m. Then there was a 4.7 in the same place, pretty much the same place, at 7:11 p.m. my time. And then there was a 5.4 that happened in the same place at 2:54 a.m. my time. So it's all hitting that same area. And so the area that's being blacked out on USGS, it's right down here, this area here. So maybe they're expecting something, I don't know, or maybe somebody's doing some kind of weird stuff and it's showing up on the map, and it's going to cause Krakatoa to go off, or more earthquakes, or who knows what, and they don't want people to see it. I don't know. All I know is that's just a real easy way for them to cover up data, just black it out. Okay, then we had a 4.9 at Fiji today at 1:26 p.m. my time. These are all Pacific time that I'm calling off. And a 5.1 at Tonga at 10:55 this morning my time. We can see those are on the red line. Then let's come back up here to the Philippines. Here's one that happened off the coast of this northern island of the Philippines. 4.8 at 12:42 p.m. my time, 51 kilometers deep at Kasambalangan, Philippines, off the coast of that. Then there was this one out in the ocean beside this ring of fire plate line of 5.8. It was 8 kilometers deep. It was 274 kilometers east-southeast of Chichishima, Japan. Now, fortunately, these earthquakes are in areas where they're either in the ocean or they're not in populated regions, so that they wouldn't cause that much damage or harm to people. Here was a 4.6 at Ibusuki, Japan, 112 kilometers deep, and that was in that little bay right there, right off the coast. So there's those. Now let's go over to Africa. There was this 4.7, I think this was a 4.8, and it got downgraded at Yumbe, Uganda at 10:13 this morning my time, 17 kilometers deep. And if we look on the sulfur dioxide map, see, here's some sulfur dioxide coming up in that area. So that's usually a forerunner of earthquakes and activity, is what I've found. And then there was one of 4.1, 29 kilometers southwest of Javanrud, Iran, 10 kilometers deep. That was at 11:19 this morning. I mean, they've just been coming in. Okay, we saw that one in the Philippines. We saw these two by Japan. Then let's go up here to these big ones in Alaska. This big one, the big one that happened this morning, was a 6.1. It was in the ocean, and it was 54 kilometers southwest of Tanaga Volcano, Alaska, and it's actually in the Aleutian Islands, right near that red line, as you can see, 19 kilometers deep. There was no tsunami warning. And then look at all these aftershocks, and let's go over to the other map to see if there were aftershocks that were smaller, so that we don't miss any. So, okay, so this is all I have in the viewing area. So before that happened, there was a 1.9 near that area. That was 26 kilometers deep. That was at 8:52 this morning. Then the 6.1 came in at 10:47 this morning. Then there was a 3.4, 45 kilometers deep. 3.2, 25 kilometers deep. 3.6, 46 kilometers deep, 2.9, 27 kilometers deep, and then the latest one at 11:03 this morning was at 4.1, 35 kilometers deep. So that was all within about a 2-hour period that all of these happened. And then, while that was going on, down here in South America, we had a 6.8 in Brazil, right on the western edge of Brazil, next to Peru. That was 575 kilometers deep. Here, I'll zoom in so you can see. And I don't think this is a very populated area. The reports I heard that people like hundreds of miles away felt mild shaking. So, and then there was a 4.0 yesterday or last night at 10:12 p.m. my time at San Antonio de los Cobras, Argentina, 195 kilometers deep. Then we've had Mexico has had activity. They've had a 4.5 in, let's see if it's in, yeah, it's right off the coast of El Salvador. There was a 4.5, 71 kilometers deep. And there was a 4.7 off the coast of Puerto Madero, Mexico, 35 kilometers deep. And then there was one on land in Guatemala of 4.5, 2 kilometers south-southeast of San Andreas Xacul, Guatemala, 148 kilometers deep. So I don't know if that caused any damage. It could. That's big enough that it could have caused some damage if it was near some buildings that weren't earthquake ready. So I think, okay, we saw those, we saw South America. Now let's go. Oh, and another one that was disturbing was, remember yesterday we had a 4.7 earthquake down here in the Gulf of California, right here on this red line, the San Andreas fault line. Well, we had another one. We had a 4.4 at 1:37 this morning at the same place. So things are shaking. They're shaking. Then there was a 3.4 up here off the coast of San Clemente Island, near San Diego, California, at 9:30 this morning, 26 kilometers deep. So there's that. So let's go over to the Dominican Republic. We're seeing 17 on the map here today. I'll just call them off. 2.7, and you can see where they light up. 3.0, 3.1, 2.6, 2.9, 2.0, 1.9, 1.6, 2.4, 1.2, 2.3, 1.3, 2.9, 2.3, 2.8, 1.4, and 3.4 was the last one that came in at 12:42 this afternoon, 44 kilometers deep, and that was at Roadtown, British Virgin Islands. So let's go over to Hawaii now. We don't want to leave them out. They've had 11 earthquakes that are showing up in the last 24 hours, all on the mainland. So I'll call these off, and you can see the blue dot where it lights up: 2.0, 1.8, 2.6, 2.1, 1.7, 2.4, 2.0, 1.9, 1.7, 2.9, that's the biggest one yet. That was at Waikoloa Village, Hawaii. That was at 9:23 this morning, and a 1.9. So those are all the ones showing on USGS for Hawaii. Now let's hit Alaska, and then we'll come down through the United States. So we saw this down here with the big one in the Aleutian Islands. So let's go up, start on the north. I don't see anything up there. And then try and get everything else on the map here. Okay, there's 105 earthquakes showing here now. Let's see how many of those are above 2.5 magnitude. Okay, here are the ones that are above 2.5 magnitude. Here's a 2.6 at Big Lake, 3.1 at Chirikov Island, 34 kilometers deep. Remember, we saw one there a couple of days ago too. 2.6 Gulf of Alaska, right down there. 2.8 Talkeetna, Alaska, right up here. And a 3.3 at Anchorage. So that's getting on up into the higher ranges. So 5 that were 2.5 magnitude or higher. So the rest of them that you're seeing in this viewing area are below that magnitude. And they're looks like we're getting more peppered around here. And then here's Anchorage with their cluster, the Anchorage area. There's 39 in that viewing area there. So, and the largest one was that 3.3. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so let's hop over to the United States. And we're going to start up here in New Hampshire. There was a 1.6 at Moultonborough, New Hampshire. It was 4 kilometers deep. And it was at 5:12 p.m. yesterday. So that came in right after my report yesterday. Here's another one in the New Madrid hazardous zone, a 1.9 at Ridgely, Tennessee. This one came in, it was 8.8 kilometers deep. This one came in at 7:09 p.m. yesterday. And if we turn on our hazard zone for the U.S., you'll see that's right in the center of that New Madrid seismic area. And we saw one there yesterday and one the day before too. So that's there's an uptick there. Then there was a 2.4 at Langston, Oklahoma, at 3:17 p.m. today, 7.6 kilometers deep. Now let's do Yellowstone and this northwest, Pacific Northwest as well. I'm going to turn this off because the colors are a little bit hard to deal with constantly. I'm going to start up here in the northwest. There was a 1.5 near Vancouver, 14 kilometers northwest of Friday Harbor, Washington. So this is still in the United States, but it was right there. See if that was on land. No, it was in the water. You can see it was right in the water there. So that was 20 kilometers deep. Then this a 1.7 at Mukilteo, Washington, 20 kilometers deep. That happened at 12:47 p.m. today. Here are a couple down here. 0.5 at Morton, Washington, and a 0.4 at Morton, Washington. See if there are any in Oregon. I don't see any. Okay, now we're getting over to our Yellowstone area. We've got a 1.6 at Lincoln, Montana. And that's all that's showing up, but we do know that 3.1 came in over here in Yellowstone. So just because it's not on USGS doesn't mean it didn't happen. And we're not seeing any in Utah today. We're not seeing any in Arizona today. Now let's come on down to Nevada and California. Let's start out with this one here. 0.6 at Portola, California. And then I'm not seeing anything right here in the Reno Sparks area. Here's one in the mountains, 0.3, 8 kilometers southeast of Truckee, California, 10 kilometers deep. So we can see this is northwest of Lake Tahoe, and that's in the mountains. Then look, here's one right in the middle of the lake. Here's a 0.7. They call it Dollar Point, California. 10 kilometers east-southeast of Dollar Point, California. And it was 11.4 kilometers deep. But actually it was in Nevada. This line, that's the state line that goes right down through the middle of the lake. So according to the map, the earthquake was in Nevada, not California, just in case you want to know. Here's one at Carson City. It was a 0.2, 2 kilometers southwest of Carson City. And look, the earthquake makers are taking the weekend off. Look at the fewer number of earthquakes on the map. The earthquake makers are having a nice weekend at home. They're not making earthquakes. They're not blasting. They're not quarrying. They're not doing whatever they're doing to make earthquakes. So let's see what's in this viewing area. I'll just call them off. 1.2, that's up in the Hawthorne area. 1.8 down here. Here's a 0 magnitude at Hawthorne, this little one, 1.1, 0.8, 0.4, and a 0.5 at Bridgeport, California. So let's come on down. Here's a 1.1 at Mammoth Lakes. Let's see what else is down here in Nevada. And we'll get those California ones on our way back up. Okay. Minus 0.3 at Beatty. Minus 0.1. Now this is in or near that Nevada test site, that Beatty, Nevada. Minus 0.4. And see, these are in the ground, 9 kilometers deep, 8, 3.5. Here's one that's 10 kilometers deep, 0.7, minus 0.3, 0.7, minus 0.2, 0.2, 1.5 at Goldfield, 0.3 at Goldfield, 0.4 at Caliente, and a minus 0.2, Beatty, 0.6 at Alamo, minus 0.1, and a 0.5 at Pahrump. So there's all of those. So that was probably from testing. We don't know. We're not part of the club. We don't know. No one's going to tell us. Here's a 1.5 at Mammoth Lakes, minus 0.5 kilometers deep. That means it was up in the mountain. More than likely, it was magma coming up in one of the old volcanoes. And Mary Greeley did a really good video today about Yellowstone and talking about where you have earthquakes that are, you know, have a minus kilometer depth. It's from the magma coming up in the volcano, in the old volcano. And that's what I've been saying. It's movement up inside the mountain, usually from magma coming up, and this is all old volcano area. And anyway, 1.0 Dixon Lane, Meadow Creek, California, 1 kilometer deep. That was near Bishop. Now let's zoom out just so you can see where Long Valley is. Because that's another big magma chamber. In addition to Yellowstone, they're saying Long Valley could blow. Long Valley is right here, and it comes around. So I would consider Mammoth Lakes and Mono Valley part of that as well. So yeah, this is a geologically active area. What can I say? Here's a 1.9 Coso Junction, 1.1 Little Lake. Now let's go back up and make sure that we've got everything coming down the coast. Up here at the geysers, there are 10 today. Looks like the largest one is a 2.3. That's pretty good size for there. Then down here in the San Francisco area, here was a 2.2, 16 kilometers east-southeast of Livermore, California. 4.5 kilometers deep. Now there's a lot of top secret stuff at Livermore. Do your research on that. There's supposedly a hadron collider there. So do your research. You can find it. Livermore Laboratories, very top secret. Lots of weird stuff going on there. Okay, coming into Southern California, right on the other side of the border, there's a 2.4 at Puebla, Baja. And we saw this one out in the ocean, this 3.4. Now let's zoom in to the Southern California area. Here's Los Angeles. And here's the Kauai group. And notice the number of earthquakes have gone way down. There's 24 on the map here. So the earthquake makers have gone home for the weekend, it looks like. These are under 1 and in the ones and into ones, it looks like. Here's a 2.0 at Borrego Springs. Down here, that was the largest one. So they're just peppered around. Here's a 1.5 at Valle Vista. Uh-oh, this is minus 1.4 kilometers deep. So if that's up in a mountain, we know what that means. Yep, that's in the mountains. So that's next to an Indian reservation, the Saboba Indian Reservation. Here's another one right there, a 0.6 at Valle Vista, 16.9 kilometers deep. There's a 1.8 at Lake Elsinore. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all those little ones. There's a that we saw that one, 2.0. So I think that's my report for today. Let's see what else has come in since we've been talking. Just make sure I got everything. Did I get this one? Yep. We've had some more up in Alaska, it looks like. Let's go over to this larger map, or the larger magnitude, 2.5 and higher. Let's see what else. Nothing else has come in on this map since we've been talking. I already got that 5.8 in Japan. Got all of those. And so the newest ones that we're seeing are ones, looks like ones in Alaska. And we just got a 0.8 that came in at the geysers, California. So that's my report for today. I hope everyone has a safe weekend and get some rest or take care of things that you need to take care of, whatever you need to do. And I do believe that time is short and we need to get our spiritual houses in order because huge changes are upon us. And until next time, I love all of you. God bless you. Go in peace. Take care. And goodbye.